lot of cliches about Australia or things people think how Australia is like, but I had a great experience in Australia. I had a great journey there. I stayed there half a year. I first studied abroad and then I traveled through the country. And yeah, in this video I want to talk about my experiences in Australia and also talk about the things that are different in Australia and what I noticed there, and yeah, be excited for this. The first thing is, Australia is on the other side of the world from Europe or from Germany, on the Southern Hemisphere, and this also means like the seasons are the complete opposite of the seasons here in Europe or also in America. So when here is winter, there is summer, and when here is summer, there is winter. This is a little bit strange. So Christmas is also in summer there, but they also had something like Christmas in July because this is their winter. This was also pretty fun. I was at a Christmas party and wore Christmas hats and all the stuff. This was also pretty fun, but yeah, they have different time zones and everything. This is a different thing. The next thing is the weather in Australia. A lot of people don't want to travel to Australia because they think it's too hot and it's always just sunny and hot there. Especially Germans always complain about this, but yeah, Germans are actually really good in complaining about the weather. It's never good enough. But I have to say it wasn't too hot for me, but I also love hot weather. I love the summer, so it's not a problem for me. It's actually an argument for me to travel to Australia because I think the weather is so much better. And yeah, the hottest day was 42 degrees, which was alright. But yeah, I have to say the sun is so much stronger there, so you have to wear sunscreen, otherwise you get a sunburn. It's actually dangerous there. That is actually true. I also experienced winter in Australia. I was traveling during the winter through the country, and I have to say the winter is actually colder than expected. At daytime it was up to 20 degrees in Sydney, which is pretty great, but at night it could get really chilly, really cold, and it's also too cold to go into the water at the beach, but you can just chill at the beach and everything. And yeah, it's still not that hard. It's just at night a little bit cold, but in Germany there's snow and it's actually really cold in winter, so it's nothing in comparison to that. So I really liked also the winter. It's not too bad, but it was a little bit colder than expected. But if you go up to Brisbane, it gets better, and in Darwin it's like hot all the time. And yeah, they also have just two seasons, like dry season and rain season, so it's also pretty different there. So it always depends on where we are in Australia. So in the outback it's also really hot, but in Sydney it's actually okay. Another important topic are the dangerous animals in Australia, because a lot of people also don't want to travel to Australia because they are afraid of the dangerous animals like snakes, spiders and sharks. They think they're everywhere and just attack people, and yeah, are too afraid of this. But I have to say I didn't really notice this, but it's also not that much of a problem in Sydney. I saw some spiders, I didn't saw any snakes or sharks, and you can just go into the water at the beach. There are always lifeguards looking out for you. It's not that much of a problem, so it wasn't really a problem for me. But I'm also not too afraid of this. But maybe in other regions it's like more of a problem, but I didn't really notice this. But it's true that in Australia they're living one of the most dangerous animals in the world, like the most dangerous bird, the cassowary, this big giant bird, and also bull sharks and box jellyfish. They are also pretty dangerous, and they live in Australia. Also crocodiles, more up in Darwin. This is also a dangerous animal living there. But I have to tell you something. The real danger, especially also in Sydney or other cities, are the magpies. These are these birds. They are swooping around and attacking people. They are going for your eyes, and they are really crazy. I wasn't really attacked, but I saw the things, and there are a lot of videos about these birds. They're actually pretty crazy and pretty dangerous. So if you come to Australia, don't worry too much about spiders, snakes or sharks. The birds are the real problem. The birds are always the problem. Australia has such an iconic nature with the rainforest, the pristine beaches, also the famous outback, and yeah, I also explored the nature there. I especially like the Blue Mountains. They were really beautiful with all the waterfalls, and we were doing a hike there. I also did a video about this. This is also pretty nice, and yeah, I really like the Blue Mountains, but also the Australian rainforest. I always wanted to go to the Australian rainforest, and I was in Tambourine Mountain. The rainforest there, it's close to Brisbane and Gold Coast, and it was pretty beautiful, and of course the beaches are an absolute highlight. In Australia it's pretty great, so Australia has such a great nature and it's amazing. And another thing is the wildlife. There are so many iconic animals like koalas, wombats and platypuses, and I didn't saw these animals, but I actually saw real kangaroos. This was also pretty amazing and also a highlight of my journey there. Now we come back to the cities. And yeah, I have to tell you a thing, or it's a thing that I noticed. I also noticed this in my Instagram reels about this topic. I made reels about things that are different, so follow me on Instagram, it's Seth Goes Down Under. So yeah, a topic that I really noticed there, it's the cities are so much cleaner than the cities in Germany or in other places in Europe. I can't really talk about the US because I haven't been there, but for me, I'm really thinking that it's much cleaner there, and also the trains and buses are much cleaner there. In Germany they're always really smelly and trashy, and a lot of things are not really working. Also the streets are dirty and all this stuff, and I was impressed about Australia. But I also heard it's, for Australians, it's not that clean. They say Sydney is not that clean, and I was also thinking that Brisbane is cleaner than Sydney, but it's still pretty great. And but for me, in comparison to European cities, it's like much cleaner in Australia, so I really like this. It's really great, and they also take care about the cities more, about the parks. It always looks great. They're really looking for their city, and you can really enjoy this, and they're really showing off their cities and everything. It's a pretty great thing. This leads to another important point, because there are public toilets everywhere, not just in shopping centers, also in parks and something, and they're actually free. And maybe you Australians think, yeah, they are public toilets, of course they are free, but in Germany it's not like this. You have to pay, like at a train station you have to pay for the toilets, and also in shopping centers there are always people like wanting cash for going to the toilet, and I think this is like actually not a good thing. And the toilets in Australia, the public toilets, are actually also not that dirty. They are much more dirty in Germany, and we actually pay for this, for the cleaning fee. It just doesn't make sense for me. We pay enough taxes to get public toilets for free. It's really a struggle here, and it's so much better in Australia, so that's a thing I miss. I don't know, it's kind of not that important, but it's a thing I had to mention. Also, an important thing that I noticed is there are almost no cash anymore in Australia. Everyone pays with their credit card or with their phone, and I think it's much better. In Germany there are still shops and restaurants where you can't pay with your card, but yeah, we Germans love our cash. There is a saying, it's called "No bares ist wahres", so just cash is real. It's a thing, but for me, I like never have cash, and it was really great to also pay with your card in a bar or in the club. It's much more convenient for me. A thing I was a little bit worried about before I traveled to Australia was shopping for groceries, because I was told it's so expensive in Australia, but I have to say, yeah, it's not cheap there, but in Germany and I think all over Europe or the US, the prices also got really high, so it's not that much of a difference. And in the beginning I was a little bit lost, but in the end I just shopped the same thing that I would shop in Germany and was eating the same thing, chicken with rice, fridge products you can put in the microwave and all the stuff. You can get this there. And also what I was talking about on Instagram is the bread. Of course, German bread is the best, I have to say this, but in the end I also found some great bread in the Australian supermarket. It wasn't that much of a problem, and yeah, I actually did pretty well there. They also have Aldi, the German supermarket, so it felt a little bit like home. Because it's hotter in Australia, there are also water dispensers everywhere where you can get free water, and also in clubs and bars you can get free water all the time. That's not the case in Germany. Of course, it's not that hot anymore, but we actually had drinking fountains back in the days, but in most of the cities they are not working anymore. But also in clubs and bars to get water for free is really great, and you don't have to pay for this and you don't get dehydrated too fast. It's actually a really great thing in Australia. I think it's also a law that you have to get free tap water. From drinking water we come to drinking alcohol. Alcohol is so much more expensive in Australia. I mean, the grocers were okay, but alcohol, it's really crazy. Except you go to Aldi, there was actually really cheap wine, also the beer was okay. And yeah, they are looking for your ID when you buy alcohol, because the drinking age in Australia is 18, but even if you're like over 18, they looking for your ID when you go to shop alcohol in the supermarket or in a liquor store. And also when you go into a club or something, they scan your ID and everything. We don't have this in Germany. The German drinking age is 16, so it's something different. Like wine and beer is with 16, and vodka or something like harder alcohol is when you're 18. And but they are controlling and checking your drinking age, and to go to the club and buying alcohol much more strict in Australia. To get around the cities I was using the public transport most of the time, and yeah, this is also like an important topic to compare this to Germany. And yeah, the first thing is the trains are actually on time most of the time. Actually, they are also the seconds on the screen when the train arrives, and they are there in the right second. In Germany, the cliché is that the Deutsche Bahn is always too late. And yeah, it's really a struggle that the train system is not really working so well in Germany. Another thing that I told you is that the trains are much cleaner and everything, and it's like much more advanced. I really like the public transport in Sydney with trains, buses and the light rail. In Brisbane it was not that great. They don't have any trams or light rails anymore. I think they're building something there. So you have to rely on buses, and in Sydney you can just pay your ticket with your phone or your credit card. You can tap on and tap off with your credit card, and in Queensland and also Victoria you have to get a different card, a travel card, to just go there. So yeah, this was more effort. It's like much better in New South Wales, but also in Gold Coast you could pay the tram with your phone. This was also pretty good. And yeah, in Gold Coast they also had the tram going through the city along the beach. This was also a pretty great thing. The public transport also worked very well, and I was impressed by this. Now I want to talk about a more personal thing, because when I was traveling around Australia I was staying in different hostels, and I think hostels are the cheapest way to stay in Australia. I was traveling with my friends and they actually got me into this. Before I traveled to Australia I could have never imagined to sleep in a hostel. There are strangers everywhere and you don't really have the privacy, and it's strange. And when I think about this, it's like I'm back in Germany for a long time now, and when I think back about this, I can't really imagine doing this again, but if I come back to Australia I might do this again. And there were a lot of great hostels that were really nice. The one in Byron Bay, the Surf House, was pretty nice, but there were also like strange hostels that weren't that good. And also a hostel in Sydney at Darling Harbour, they actually had free foods, free dinner and free breakfast. Okay, the free breakfast is always just toast with butter. The dinner was actually pretty good, so I had a lot of great hostels and a lot of but also hostels that weren't that good. It was a strange experience for me. I had to get out of my comfort zone, but it was actually great. Also, like the bathrooms, everything worked pretty well. It wasn't too dirty, it was actually clean, and I didn't really had any experience that were too bad. I heard some stories about really bad experiences with hostels, but I didn't have any. And I think staying in a hostel in Australia is actually not a bad thing, and yeah, it was a good way to get around the country. And yeah, this is also a thing I wanted to talk about, a different experience I made, and yeah, it was pretty great. There are a lot of things that are different in Australia, like they also have a different charger. There's also something I talked about, and Burger King is not called Burger King, it's called Hungry Jack's, which is a funny thing, but it's not really, it doesn't really matter. And also the thing I forget is like shops, supermarkets and everything are open on Sundays. In Germany everything is closed on Sundays. In Australia you can also shop groceries on Sundays, which is pretty great, but also in the UK it's also like this, and I don't know about the US. But yeah, there are things that are different in Australia, but in the end I have to say it's still very close to living in Germany or living in Europe. It's they have like the same groceries, and also the culture is pretty close to this. And yeah, I really love Australia, I really love the people there, I really love the vibe there. It was a really great experience there, and I definitely want to go back to Australia at some point. And it was like really the best time of my life. It was such a great experience, and I can't really talk about things that weren't too good because no dangerous animals and everything went very well so far, and I'm really excited to go back. I hope you liked my video and also got some impressions about Australia, because if you're not sure to travel to Australia because of like the heat of the animals, go to Australia, don't be too afraid about this. It's really great there. And if you're Australian, I can just say I love your country and everything. And yeah, I hope you can also say something about the topics I mentioned. Do you agree with that or do you disagree with that? Let me know in the comments. And yeah, thanks for watching and see you next video. Cheers!